Hey guys, it's Noah. Welcome back to another Tuesday Tidbit. So today's going to be short and sweet because it's 9 a.m. on Monday morning and I'm heading to the airport to get on a plane and fly back to the West Coast. I'm heading to Napa Valley, California to work with a new client who really wants to ensure that they're doing everything in their power to cement those relationships with their clients that they've worked so hard to build over the years. They've spent time, energy, and money to develop these relationships, and so they want to ensure that they're doing everything in their power to make sure that they're giving their clients the most value and ensure that they're maximizing the value of those relationships in return. Now, last week I was out on the West Coast again. I was in British Columbia, Vancouver, working with CEOs and presidents of some of Canada's largest companies, and I started every talk the same. I said, who has a process in place in their organization to file an expense reimbursement? So I go out for lunch and I want to get paid and I have my receipt. And every one of the leaders in the room could describe to me in great detail what that process looked like. In fact, one guy, Stan, we had to stop him because it was going on about 15 minutes. He kept trying to give us every single step. But the level of detail that leaders can go into in this area is rather shocking, because what happens is I flip the script and I say, now who can tell me what their sales process looked like, or their customer onboarding process, or their ongoing customer engagement process, or their referral generation process, and the list goes on. And not many of them can explain these things to me. So today's lesson is really short and sweet. I want to talk to you about the world-class processes that you need in place if you want to be world-class. These are really simple. They're not overly rigid. One guy said to me last week, Noah, I want my customer relationships to be organic. I don't want them to be overly rigid. That's not the point here. These are organic, and in fact, they're rather simple. So at a bare minimum, you need to clearly define your sales process. Now for you, it's about looking at the most important parts of your sales process that you need more measures of activity on, or controls on, or measures of accountability, just different ways to ensure that the things that are important to you are happening. So I've given you examples of this before. With one client, it was as simple as figuring out, did our salesperson follow up on a quote, yes or no? It wasn't a fancy ERP system, it wasn't a fancy CRM, it was a simple two-step question. Did you follow up on this quote, yes or no? And then every Thursday, the CEO, the sales manager, and the customer service person or the sales rep would get an email of all the outstanding quotes. And this is really important because it eliminates storytelling. It eliminates the fact of somebody saying, well, I did follow up. Well, no, you didn't, because it's still outstanding. So that's one simple process. Look at your sales process and figure out, where do you need more control? Where do you need more visibility? For another client I've talked about before, it was just about expectations of activity. What are our people doing on a daily basis? Now think about something like customer onboarding. What's the process like from when a prospect becomes a customer? A lot of companies let this client kind of fall through the cracks. It's all hands on deck to get the sale, and then once they've got the sale, the customer just kind of fizzles out and they've gone on to find more new business. But you need to define this process. What's that look like? How can you make that as engaging or as seamless as possible? And then think about ongoing customer touch points. What could you do here to ensure that none of your clients are falling through the cracks? Again, I've given you lots of examples of this in the past about clients that have shown up to competitors and to clients, and they've seen competitors there. And they ask what happened. Well, they just sort of fell out of touch. So one client developed the 90-45 rule with my help. And the 90 of that was no client in our repertoire of clients can go more than 90 days without some sort of touch point. And then they said for our top 10% of clients, and they did this by revenue, none of them could go more than 45 days without an in-person visit. This had to be recorded, it had to be in the CRM, and there was some level of control over this. So now, every 45 days, the CEO would get a list of all of those clients in that top 10 percentile that had gone more than 45 days. Again, it's now a simple question. Why haven't you spoke to this client? Oh, well, I did. Well, no, you didn't, because it's not here. You need a referral generation process. I've railed enough on Net Promoter Score because, quite frankly, the scores are rather useless if you use them to give yourself a pat on the back. So what are you doing with those scores? If you get 8s or 9s or 10s and somebody says, yes, I'm willing to recommend you to a friend, then actually have them put their money where their mouth is and have a process in place to ensure you do that. If you don't use Net Promoter Score and you want to generate word of mouth and more referrals, this is how you do it. You take control of it and you make it a proactive process. So that's a couple of different processes that I think you need to operate at a world-class level. They're simple, they're effective, they're not overly rigid. You can still keep that fancy expense reimbursement process, but this is how you get to that level of world-class, by thinking through these different areas of the customer lifecycle, putting these metrics in place, and giving yourself control, as much control as you have over ensuring that Bill gets paid for his hamburger at lunch. That's what this is all about. This is where revenue is generated, and these are the types of things that you need to get in place. Now, if you need my help, you know how to reach me. I'm happy to help you with this, but do it and do it now. It's too important to not do it. Talk to you soon.